This week, I'm bringing you another quick beginner tip that I wish I had known earlier in my programming career. Of course, we're going to look at this in TypeScript, but it translates just as naturally to JavaScript and other programming languages too. This is a refactoring pattern that I found really useful this week, realized I never talked about it, wanted to share it. We have some existing code, and of course, we can imagine that our update inventory function here is maybe a very widely used utility function within our application. It's pretty straightforward. It takes a product, some quantity of that product, and it will update them in inventory. Optionally, we can also trigger this side effect to send an email about this product to our waiting list. And as you can see, the default for this is false. Now we use this update inventory function in two places. First, we have a handle normal shipment that just takes an array of products, counts them up, and then processes them one by one, adding them to the inventory. It does not use that optional argument. We do have a special order handling function as well that will make sure to send that email. Now, the problem that I was trying to solve in my real world code that I'm paralleling here in this example is that I wanted to get rid of this send email to waiting list optional argument. I didn't know how many places in the code were actually using it. I wanted to trigger that side effect in a different way altogether. And so I wanted to remove this optional argument. And so the question is, well, how can I find out where it's being used? One way, of course, is to just remove it like this and then look for places in the code where that causes a type error. That can be a really simple solution. In my case, this optional argument wasn't the last argument to the function. And so that was a little more challenging to do. We had a couple of Boolean flags at the end. So how can we find all of the places in our code base that actually use this and evaluate whether or not they actually still need to? Most of our tooling these days can let you look at the references to a particular function. And so as you can see, I can pull that up here. I can see one reference here at the bottom is obviously the place where this function is created. But then we have two other references here. I can just see that the first one uses that third argument and the second one here does not. So I can kind of just count them up. That's a pretty manual way to do this. One thing that would be nice to be able to do would just be to grep for this kind of pretty specific argument name throughout the code base. However, because JavaScript or TypeScript doesn't do named arguments in the way that, say, Python does, that's not really an option that we have here. And we kind of have this same problem from the other end, right? Where if I'm looking at this particular update inventory call here, I just see a bare Boolean here, and I don't really know just by looking at it what it is. Now, a lot of tooling will actually put the name of the argument in front of it, especially when it's a Boolean or a literal like this. And so that's helpful. Not all tooling has that though. Also, it's fairly straightforward for me to just bring up the function signature like this using the type hints. However, that is an extra step that I would love to be able to just not need to do. I'd love to be able to just look at this code and know what that true represents. And so what I ended up doing was converting these three different arguments to this function to a single object argument. This can be a really nice pattern, especially in JavaScript or TypeScript where we have destructuring and where it's very little extra syntax to quickly get named arguments that can come in any order. Especially nice about TypeScript, there's a built-in code action that's part of the language server for this. I can pop open my code action pane here at the bottom. Of course, I'm in NeoVim. It's going to be different in your different editors. A lot of times you can right click on the token, like in this case, update inventory, and then choose code actions from a menu. You can see the second one is the one I want here, convert parameters to destructured object. So I can just hit 2 and you can see now we have an object here as our single argument. And then we also have the type for it right here. I might pull this out into a separate type and call this update inventory arg. I might even format this a little bit differently. This is a really nice pattern because first of all, this doesn't really look that much different. In fact, maybe overall, if you ignore this type that we extracted, this is actually kind of cleaner to read because you don't have the type after each one of these. That's a personal preference. You may prefer to see the types there like that. The real win for my specific scenario is that now send email to waiting list is easily greppable throughout the code base, right? If we scroll down, you can see here, it doesn't exist, but here it does. And so now we can really easily grep for all instances of update inventory and then just grep for this particular argument. And the difference is how many places use it versus don't. And so now we also have this kind of labeled argument. Of course, one of the other nice side effects here is that these can come out of order. I can move product to the end here. This is still an object with the same 3 fields that we needed to have. And so that's really handy. This is a type of change that I'm often looking for in my code. It's a change that is really small and easy to make, but has a high impact on the usability of this function. And if you're skeptical skeptical about just how big of an improvement this is for this function, think about it from this perspective. I work, and I assume many of us work at companies where we work with many other engineers. We're sharing a code base, and I may write a function that other engineers may eventually use. Those engineers may be unfamiliar with this function that I've just written because they don't often work in my particular part of the code base. They may be unfamiliar with TypeScript because they're new to the company and new to that language. They may just be new to the company, familiar with TypeScript, but are just getting familiar with the utilities and shared commons that we have available. And so doing something like this that feels really small in an example like this, where we have just 2 use cases and it's easy to find them, is actually something that's really big when this function could be used in dozens or hundreds of places across a large code base. And so small improvements to readability and usability of your functions like this can have an almost multiplicative effect on your entire engineering organization. Maybe I'm overselling that a little bit, but I think you get the idea of how caring about the small details like this when building an API, essentially, that other engineers will share, is something that just is really rewarding for me, and I think makes the entire code base better and makes us more efficient as a group of engineers. So I think we kind of got a little bit philosophical there at the end, but this is, I think, a really neat pattern to use in TypeScript. Let me know if you find this useful, or if there are other similar patterns that you find kind of have an outsized effect on the way that you write code. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.